So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, yesterday we talked about the early days of rookie minicamp, and yesterday we talked a lot about some of the few breakout players that we're already seeing at said rookie minicamp. And today we're going to do a deeper dive on undrafted free agent Kalil Pimpleton, the wide receiver from Central Michigan. Kalil Pimpleton was by far the biggest weapon at Central Michigan over his last few years of collegiate play and signed as a redshirt junior from the University of Central Michigan. He is currently a member of the Detroit Lions roster and has been the sole breakout player so far in rookie minicamp. And today we are going to take a look at the Central Michigan product. But with all that being said, all the intro stuff out of the way, let's get into taking a look at Central Michigan product Kalil Pimpleton. Now, standing at 5'9", 175 pounds, his stature and his size are not the things that are going to impress you, right? He's 5'9", he's pretty short, not very heavy, right? Doesn't really have the typical size for a NFL wide receiver. However, he makes up with that lack of size and lack of physical dominance with his speed, agility, and route running. Running a 4.49 at the Central Michigan Pro Day and grading in with elite 10-yard and 20-yard splits with 1.52 and 2.5 seconds respectively. His speed is pretty good. Graded in as great as an RAS score, and I believe his overall RAS score was somewhere in the high 7s to low 8s. Overall, it makes him a pretty good athlete considering he measured in very, very poorly for the size measurement. So if you take out of that, he is a pretty good athlete, all things considered. Now, on top of the really good speed grade, he also graded really, really well in agility drills, having a 4.04 second shuttle and a 6.93 three cone time, which again are really good times for the 3 cone and the shuttle. And he uses that speed, he uses that agility to run really good routes. He understands the nuances of route running, right? Understands like dipping the head and using his shoulders to fake, and he just understands how to create separation on certain routes, and he's already doing that versus the Detroit Lions rookies. Now, I know it is rookie minicamp, I know it's day one, and I know everybody's still getting comfortable, everybody's still getting caught up to NFL speed, but Kalil Pimpleton got caught up the absolute fastest. He is somebody that has already developed a chemistry with his quarterback, right? Him and Connor Sampson already have that connection going in rookie minicamp, and they are already looking like a really good duo among Detroit Lions rookies, right? Kalil Pimpleton is just simply creating really good separation. If you go look up videos, if you go look up, highlights from rookie minicamp that are coming out and being leaked here and there, you're going to see the most impressive highlights coming from the 5'9" wide receiver. Now, going back to his college days, Kalil Pimpleton was by far the best weapon at Central Michigan. In his senior year, he played in 13 games where he had 62 receptions for 960 yards and 4 touchdowns. And on top of that, he rushed the ball 16 times for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns on top of that. And then he also contributed on special teams with 16 punt returns for 304 yards, averaging 19 yards per return and 2 more touchdowns. He had 8 touchdowns in his redshirt junior year, had over 1,000 scrimmage yards in total, and was a huge contributor both catching, rushing, and returning the football on special teams and the offensive side of the football. On his career at Central Michigan, he totaled over 170 receptions, 2,131 receiving yards, 12.5 yards per reception, and 12 receiving touchdowns through 3 years at Central Michigan. He also totaled over 40 carries on the ground for 304 yards, averaging 7.6 yards per carry as a wide receiver, and had 5 more touchdowns on the ground. He also contributed significantly in the special teams as well, all 3 years at Central Michigan, returning again 2 total touchdowns on top of that, or returning 2 total kicks for touchdowns on top of that. So he finished his career with a lot of yards, with being a really dynamic weapon through the air, on the ground, and for special teams. He contributed nearly 20 touchdowns throughout 3 years to Central Michigan, and he just all around was one of the more impactful and dynamic weapons in the MAC conference for a group of 5 school that wasn't necessarily in the media, wasn't necessarily talked about a whole lot, but he was a really dynamic weapon. He played fairly well versus LSU. He played really good against the top competition that Western Michigan did play throughout his time at Central Michigan. And I mean, he's just a really, really solid player. It's not hard to see why he went undrafted, right? A 5'9" wide receiver that never cracked 1,000 yards in a non-Power 5 school is somebody that probably isn't going to get drafted. That's not the resume of a drafted football player, but at the end of the day, I do think he was a priority undrafted free agent because of the separation in hands that he did show in college. As I said, he is already beginning to stand out at rookie minicamp as one of the most impressive rookies to be in Allen Park. He's already showcasing speed, agility, route running, and hands with, again, that early connection from Connor Sampson. They are just creating separation. He is dominating the 7-on-7 drills. He is winning consistently in 1-on-1 drills. And I think Kalil Pimpleton very realistically will make and carve out a spot for himself on this Detroit Lions active roster come 53-man cuts. Now, it might be, crazy to say that right now, right? It might be hard to say, okay, he's going to crack the top 6 in the Lions receiving room and beat out one of DJ Chark, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Quintez Cephas, or Khalif Raymond for one of those top 6 wide receivers. That likely will not happen, right? DJ Chark and Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, and Quintez Cephas are all locks to make this roster next year. I don't see a single way that any of those guys get cut from the active roster, and I would even go as far as say Khalif Raymond's spot as the wide receiver 6 is not anywhere near being in jeopardy and is nowhere near in danger of losing that spot to an undrafted rookie free agent. However, knowing that the Detroit Lions carried 7 wide receivers a season ago opens up that extra spot for Kalil Pimpleton, where instead of having to beat out one of the top 6, he has to beat out one of Corey Sutton or Josh Johnson, fellow undrafted free agents who are nowhere near as productive and nowhere near as, flashy right now as Kalil Pimpleton, right? They're not making the same plays that Pimpleton is on the football field, or he has to beat out Tom Kennedy, who's been on the roster for a while, is a veteran in the NFL, but hasn't really done anything special in his career other than contribute to special teams, or he has to beat out Tom Kennedy, who was a preseason standout a year ago for the Denver Broncos, but again, hasn't really contributed anything to the Detroit Lions and gives me no reason to think that he can't be beat out by this undrafted free agent. So if you're telling me that he has a really good preseason, you're telling me that he can develop that same connection with Tim Boyle or David Blau in the preseason, he gets some fourth quarter reps and puts up 50 to 60 yards a game, or has 2 to 3 big catches in the preseason, and Trinity Benson underperforms in the preseason like he did in the regular season a year ago, it's not that hard to think that he could not only win out amongst the rest of the undrafted free agents, but he could win out versus a couple of NFL veterans and make the active roster as the wide receiver 7. For me, he reminds me a lot of Brandon Powell from a few years ago, right? The undrafted player from Florida who was really undersized but ran pretty good routes, had good hands, could kick and punt return, could kind of get involved in a lot of different ways. And Brandon Powell did not play a lot for the Detroit Lions. I believe he only started one game and only had like 7 to 8 catches for the Lions over a year or two. But in the one game that he started, he had 100 receiving yards, and he was a preseason star each and every season that he was on while he was a member of the Detroit Lions roster. He's bounced around the league. He went to Atlanta, and he went to Los Angeles last year and won a ring with the Los Angeles Rams. But he reminds me a lot of that guy. Somebody that's not big, somebody that's not super imposing, a guy that's actually undersized, but just is really fast, is really agile, has good hands, is a good route runner, creates separation, and then he's never going to be a top wide receiver in the NFL, but he's going to be a preseason guy. He's going to be a preseason standout in my opinion, and I think you're going to see this guy, really small wide receiver in the preseason, get a bunch of targets. You're going to see him get some pretty good production, and I think he's certainly going to push for a active roster spot come first regular season game. Well, all that being said, that is life for you guys today. At the very worst, I see Kalil Pimpleton sitting on the practice squad for a year. At the very worst, I see him making the practice squad. I think he will certainly beat out the other two undrafted free agents. And at the end of the day, I think he will be a member of the Detroit Lions by the regular season, whether it be on the active roster or the practice squad. But with all that being said, that is life for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about the undrafted rookie free agent down in the comments below. And let me know what you think that he can accomplish either this preseason or maybe even in the regular season. I'd be very curious what you guys think. Both all of that being said, that is all for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions.